Hi, welcome back to Elizabeth Ann Reads. My name is Ann. I'm here to talk about March and the books I hope to read in March, the books I might read in March. I don't know. I don't know. It's a TBR, but not a strict one. So March is middle grade March. So primarily I'm going to be reading middle grade, but I have two other things on my stack that I want to talk about real quick that I'm also going to attempt to read in March. The first being Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 4 in the Stormlight Archives. I don't need to tell you about it because everyone's been talking about it lately. But I figured that it would be a good take on something this chunky during March. When I'm reading kind of lighter, shorter things, this would be a good option. So I'll be just working on this throughout the month, hopefully get through it by the end of March. The other non-middle grade book that I'm hoping to read is Revolution by Jennifer Donnelly. This is going to be the book that I use to fulfill the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. This is a challenge created by Chantal at An Intentional Life, and you just get a different prompt each month, and the goal is to read something off your physical TBR. The prompt for March is to read a book that a friend recommended. I actually bought this book 2 years ago, the last time I was up at Powell's up in Portland, and I was book shopping with a friend, and she recommended this one. I've read other Jennifer Donnelly books, but not this one. I believe this has to do with the French Revolution, and maybe time travel? I'm not positive, but I trust my friend, so I'm going to read it. Okay, on to the middle grade. Another one of my goals for this year is to read a nonfiction and a classic each month, so I'm tying those two things into the middle grade as well. So for my classic, I'm planning on reading Heidi by Joanna Spyri. Is it Spyri or Spyri? Spyri? I may have read this when I was a kid, but I don't remember it. So I am looking forward to getting to that one this month. And then for nonfiction, I have The Story of Mankind by Hendrik Willem van Loon. This is actually the very first Newbery winner back in 1922, I believe. This was the book that won, and this is just a nonfiction history book. It's pretty chunky, so I will probably spread this one throughout the month as well. Now, this book is 100 years old, and I believe it's been updated. This particular edition has been updated for the last 100 years. So I believe there's some other things in here as well, but I will tell you more about it as I go through it. All right, let's move on to the books I'm using for the prompts. The books I'm planning on using for the prompt. Middle grade March doesn't start for a week. I may have totally changed my TBR by then. But this is right now what I'm planning on. So for the strong family element prompt, I am going with Forever or a Long, Long Time by Kayla Carter. This, I believe, has to do with two siblings that are in foster care. So not only do you have the sibling family, but you have, I think, a found family element as well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to picking up that one. For the travel or adventure prompt, I'm going to be using The Extremely Inconvenient Adventures of Bronte Meddlestone by Jacqueline Moriarty. This is a story of Bronte, who her parents die, I believe, and they leave her instructions to deliver things to her 10 aunts who live around the world. One's like a pirate, one's a rock star, one's a monarch of some kingdom. It just sounds like a lot of fun and very creative, and definitely has those kind of travel adventure elements to it. All right, for the fairy tale retelling or fairy tale elements, I'm going with Rump, The True Story of Rumpelstiltskin by Liesl Shirtleaf. A lot of people have been talking about this one. I just haven't picked it up yet. This is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. I love the story of Rumpelstiltskin. I think it's really just different and unique from a lot of fairy tales out there. And so I've been wanting to pick this one up. I just haven't got around to it, but this is the perfect time. For the book with a silhouette on the cover, I'm going with The Strangers by Margaret Peterson Haddix. You can see right up here at the top, well, here too, you've got silhouettes of these 3 kids. I don't know much about this. I believe it's a mystery about these 3 kids that go missing, and these 3 other kids, the same names and the same birthdays, are looking for them or something. I don't really know, but it's the first in a series, and yeah, I think it sounds really good. So the last prompt is to read a book that was published in the decade that you were born, and I am a 1980s baby. And a lot of people have said finding books published in the 80s has been tricky. So I found The Night of Wishes, which I actually already had on my shelf. This is by Michael Ende, who wrote The Never-Ending Story. And I've read one other of his works as well, and I've really enjoyed both of those. As far as I know, this is his only other work that has been translated into English. And this was published in 1989. It wasn't translated to English till later, but it was originally written in 89. So we're going with it. And yeah, I don't really know anything about it. I'm sure it's fantasy, since it's Michael Ende. And yeah, so that's my decade book. All right, and then I have another stack of books that I'm going to show you. I don't know much about any of them. I'm just going to show you what's there. And then I have a whole bunch more books that I'm not even going to show you. And we're just, I don't know. What I'm going to show you is kind of at the top of my priority stack. But again, that can change throughout the month. So we'll see. So we're just going to go through these real quick to prevent this video from getting super long. The first is Starfell, Willow Moss, and the Lost Day by Dominique Valente. I actually just won this in a Goodreads giveaway. So it's super short, and I'm sure it's fantasy, I think. And yeah, hopefully we'll get to it this month. I have a couple historical fiction that I'm hoping to get to. One is Skylark's War by Hilary Mackay. Again, I don't really know anything about this. I think it might be World War I, although I'm not even positive about that. It says early 20th century, and it definitely has to do with war. So I'm going to guess maybe World War I, but I don't know. Sorry, you can't see that, can you? I also have A Place to Hang the Moon by Kate Albus. This has to do with World War II. This is a brand new release, and I believe it has to do with some of the children that are evacuated from London during the Blitz. Have Some Kind of Happiness by Claire Legrand. I believe this is about a little girl who maybe she struggles socially. I can't remember. Maybe not. I think, oh, it looks like she's sent to live with her grandparents, and she kind of ends up creating her own little kingdom in the woods around the grandparents' house. I don't know. We'll find out what it is. I have The Miraculous by Jess Redmond. Again, I know nothing about this, but I think it has to do with miracle hunting. I don't know. Another fantasy, Peter Nimble and His Fantastic Eyes. This is by Jonathan Auxier. I read both Sweep and The Night Gardener last year and really enjoyed them both. And so I've been wanting to read this one, and now I'm going to. I have York by Laura Ruby, which I think is an alternate history, kind of like a steampunk alternate history something. This is first in a series. I've had it on my shelf for a couple years now, and I would like to read it. And this cover is amazing. You can't see. I just think it's a really beautiful cover, and I'm looking forward to reading it. I have two books by Katherine Rundell, who I haven't read anything by, but both of these look fantastic. One is Cartwheeling in Thunderstorms, which I think has to do with a child who lives in South Africa, but is sent to England for boarding school. And then The Explorer has to do with 4 kids that their plane goes down in the Amazon jungle. So some survival elements or something. I don't know. We'll find out. I have Cogheart by Peter Bunzel. I don't know anything about this. I think it's fantasy. It looks like a fantasy. Lily's life is in mortal peril, and her father is missing, and now silver-eyed men stalk her through the shadows. Sounds intriguing. I have another book with a fox on the cover. This one is Pax by Sarah Pennypacker. I read Here in This World, or Here in the Real World, last year for middle grade March, and I really enjoyed it. So I've been wanting to pick this one up. I think it has to do with a friendship between a boy and a fox. I have another new release. This is The Mysterious Disappearance of Aiden S. by David Levithan. This is, I think, about a little boy that goes missing and then suddenly reappears, and the story of where he's been. And then the last one I have, or at least the last one I'm going to show you, is The Prophet Calls by Melanie Sumrow. I heard about this from Chantel at An Intentional Life. And I think this has to do with like an extremist, like a polygamist cult. And it follows some of the girls that live there. So, yeah, that should be interesting. And yeah, again, I've got a bunch of other things kind of sitting around. We'll just see what ends up getting picked for the month. And I'll be keeping you updated. I think I'm going to try and do like weekly check-ins. And just let you know kind of week by week what I'm reading. And yeah, I hope you all have loads and loads of books ready for middle grade March. I'm excited to hear everyone's recommendations and reviews as we go through the month. So yeah, that is it. Thank you for watching.